Okay, the hour being after 7, we'll open the planning board meeting. First item on is minutes, February 16th, and we have March 2nd. I understand there was some controversy over typos on one of them.
Actually, it was a spelling.
Not that I'm
error, wasn't a
aware of.
typo.
Or wasn't typo,
It was a
clerical
spelling
error,
error.
scrivener's error, is that what they call it?
I thought the minutes of March 2nd were absolutely fantastic myself. Didn't you, John?
Yeah, I thought they were up to power, yeah.
There was a word I couldn't understand what you wrote, but that's all right.
I motion to approve the February 16th minutes.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Motion to approve March 2nd minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to site plans or whatever, since she's here for the A&R.
Yeah, do you want to wait for?
Yeah, if she wants, you want to wait for whoever's coming?
Yeah.
Okay,
We can just do the dates.
all right.
There's two parts to it, Jeff. The first is to re-endorse a Form I.
Okay. Why are we re-endorsing it, did you say?
You can
You can't say that. It's all super secret stuff.
Oh, I guess so.
All right, why we're releasing it?
Yeah, they forgot, they didn't have one that was recorded, and then 3 of the house lots didn't catch it, but the 4th one did.
Oh,
So it's just to release it.
can you make a motion to release the Form I covenant? Keeney Estates,
Second.
discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
Okay, everybody just sign
Keeney, is it, oh, is that Chieftain?
it. Chieftain, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's, I always, yep. Do I keep the folder for the other two?
Yep, that's the resident, not the residence area, but the one, final one users.
All right. If I go too fast, I'm gonna be sitting here soon. We had a request for final bond release on Chieftain Way, and we have from Maggie Walker dated March 10th. The inspection's been made for the above noted subdivision, and that all bonded items have been completed. So,
Oh, she's all set.
yeah, and we had something from well, this went back to September, so, make a motion to release the bond for Chieftain Way.
Second.
Second discussion. All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Boom. Here's the folder that goes with that.
Thank you.
Oh,
Jack, there was some, in the correspondence, there's 2 things that, top one on Stone Street, Larry Richards' property, and we got a letter from one of the butters. I explained to him that they had to file the check, but
So,
that was a letter. And then I'm not sure what the next one
this is from somebody,
is. The butter.
oh, all right, so, it's been filed?
No, he just wanted to know what we could do for him.
Can't,
That's why,
can't do anything, it's been filed, right? So we'll have to go with the hearing. Correct?
it's been filed with zoning, not us.
Oh, it hasn't been filed with us yet? Oh, all right. Does he know that it should go to zoning too? Decent
He's
one to
been at the
zoning?
zoning.
All right, so we'll just hold this one, and if they do file? All right. Stuff here, we don't care. You wanna look at, read that? Yeah, something from the planning board about road acceptance from my favorite subdivision, Hancock, Arlington, and Evergreen. Oh, they have a public meeting for that? They do? I don't remember that.
And then there was something from Lou Petrosi regarding, to the select, it was just a copy to us.
Yeah. Is there anything you could fill the board in on Lou and the sewer?
No, not at this time, although he was in the other day and said that he's gonna be getting ready to file new plans.
New plans?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about Boyd.
Oh, for that one, no, I haven't heard anything. Not since he submitted that letter to the selectmen.
Not much. I don't care about these. That's the one.
That's John That's not exactly.
I don't have this, so I wanna find out how they ended up getting it. Accepted categories.
But,
You want to go to town meeting, they
no,
want
this, well, can't.
Right across the road.
That's the,
There is a lot of things.
I didn't go with the rest of it, so.
Thinking about it.
Brush Hill, something on Walton. About the anticipated upcoming. Get this back, huh? All right. A&R 1145 West Street.
45.
West Street. West Street. Ain't that
That's
something?
11:45.
It's way down, John. That's almost 30-something.
What? We could open up and find out where it is, couldn't we?
Oh, I know where it is,
You guys wanna look at one?
yeah.
Yes. Take the call. Freaking thing. Oh, they're not? Yeah, there's that.
Yeah, there's, one of them, Jack, one of them had a signature, date on it.
What?
I'm sorry, no, it's the application.
Okay, what-
No, I can't even figure this one. West Street.
I'm just curious as to what part of West that is.
Line, the present sign.
Yeah.
is that White Pine or West Pine?
Existing one.
Okay,
2017.
is that West Pine or White Pine? It's west, isn't it? Yeah, I know where that
This
is.
should be Beethoven, right? Go Highland Park.
No, Beethoven's down here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, this is Beethoven.
Yep.
The question came up about when Maggie was reviewing this,
Yeah.
about his, this is where it is, but his house is way over here.
So that looks.
Yeah,
And his driveway comes
have
in
200 feet
over
of
somebody else's.
we don't care about that. It's
Okay,
an
she just
A&R.
wanted me to remind you.
Okay. Well, when we find out what's going on.
Well, they've asked.
Yeah, they got
It says two.
a year and a year.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it says in here that C is going. C is going to. Yeah, it says it here, which is important that they have that.
One line, they want to break it.
all right, want to explain it to all of us there, Lizzie?
Yeah, it looks like they're taking the existing 4A and separating it into two. And then the part that's identified as Lot C, the odd-shaped piece, is gonna be combined with
Where's
3A. So they have the frontage for the two,
For two houses.
for the two
4B.
lots. So everything looks
That's
on
wonderful.
the up.
3A and 4A are taken. And, 3A.
All right.
Weird.
Yeah, everything looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Should
that's,
say here, yeah.
So where's 4A?
It appears to me
4B.
everything needed A and R.
Where's 4A? I mean, I don't know.
That lot
I'm new
C
to this,
goes
but-
way back.
4A is now this.
As part of.
Big.
For 4A?
Yeah, as part of,
Oh, no, 4A is all this.
yeah. Looks it.
And Lot C was existing? Once again, we get, which one is the existing one? I can't.
4A, the one to the left, the way
Right
you're
here,
looking
over
at
here.
it.
All right,
Florida.
so 4A, so it all
It
exists
is
like
down
this.
here.
And there's,
And then they're dividing it and they're separating out what's
So there's
shown
lot
as
C right there.
3A.
Goes all the way up.
yeah, okay.
This is a
Giving
blow-up of
C
that.
to them.
There you go, he's right here.
So this is 4A.
Do they want to
Well, that's 4A, right, I couldn't find it, yeah.
And this is it on the blow-up.
Yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
is lot C with the little
Not that
access.
much.
Okay, so there's already a house
Now we're
here?
beginning to-
It's already an
I
existing
didn't know,
house.
it's just a blow-up.
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
kept
yeah.
enough
So
frontage for it.
she wants to build here?
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, but you got the frontage,
Okay. So
so.
who lives here that they don't name the
She's got the
person?
frontage.
right here.
No, but they don't name the person, that's all I'm saying.
It's this woman here.
So we look at
She
It's
owns
here.
it and then
Who's
he's
she and?
Is he,
buying it.
Paul's buying it? Gotcha.
So what is lot
Right,
C?
see how they
Is that
label
everything
everybody
doing
else,
this?
how come not her? That's my question.
Yeah, they don't have.
Yeah, it's now becoming part of this.
Oh, so they're acquiring
Yeah.
lot C. All right, so there's no frontage issues.
Yeah, that's correct, so, because you need 200 feet there, you got 144 and 61, and then 107, 92.
And that's built
Right, because how is this even a thing?
C on
That's kind of like your parking lot up on Elm Street.
Yeah, so I don't know when they,
Okay, there we go, yeah.
but the thing is, being with the power lines, you never know what
'Cause we
happened
gotta-
right there. And the other thing is, the guy who built up here, this is, it should be West Pine, not White Pine, but this was all Carl Swanson stuff, so there was a lot of
So
stuff.
Jack, are we looking at two
Two lots right here.
Two lots.
Yep,
A and O's, is it?
yep. Well,
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
one
they-
A and
One and,
Well, it's for two lots,
two lots,
okay?
yeah.
So lot C is going
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because this already exists.
If, I don't think that they would be able to.
Do you know where the easement for the
You know, the
utility
frontage
line
is
goes?
separated again.
It doesn't look like it.
Really separate.
He was saying like, could there potentially be any further
Subdivision
subdivision?
going here.
It doesn't look like they'd be
No,
able to
unless they
have the
didn't build a
frontage.
house and they could put a road up there 46 feet.
There was some pipe.
He could take this lot right now and then propose something else if he doesn't build something. Just a 46-foot frontage. All right, we're all set. Yeah, I'll make a motion to endorse plan of land, lot 4A, and on 1145 West Street, finding that they have proper frontage, proper zone, and everything else, so, made a motion to endorse.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, we just signed the Mylar with black pen.
You go on top, right?
Yeah. Whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter.
There's a stamp right there. I think it's on there, right?
I think it is in there.
Yes, that's all.
No, it's not. This thing. When you're here, like 10 years, you get to stamp it. Not until that time.
I know my place is to
perks of a decade.
Oops. Because you, aside from taking your ethics exam, you gotta take a stamping exam. Am I?
He's in the booth tonight, it's a good thing.
I flunked that ethics exam. Like an open book. I'm going to. Look at that, see? All those years of doing it. You could have put the date on it, right?
Listen, I know my place. My place is just, it's just to sign my name.
So where's the,
Well, because they put the other thing on. I think they just gave us that. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, we go back to them, but they only need the Mylar. There it is, pass that back. Okay. Done? Done. It's just telling you.
Better put those in my calendar.
Are you
First,
down at the Shamrock tomorrow?
First, third.
I missed it on the Just saying.
I need it this year.
No, it's,
Just too far to go all the time.
better know all this stuff. Oh, no, at least know the meeting dates and all that stuff.
You're welcome.
It's supposed to correctly on the calendar, it's all good.
The Irish. And they-
48 hours.
Give me a calendar, I'll mark it right now for you.
But you have fun doing it.
Thank you.
One of those things I changed, and always take care of. It's been a real pain in the neck.
I got it.
So you just come up as a phone number, I need to do it here.
I call it as a what?
Phone number, not a person. I had to make you a person yesterday.
What are you talking about? Oh,
So Johnny Walsh is here. JT.
which one do you want to be on there? Okay.
Boy.
I don't get that many. Do you want to be,
Yeah.
so you want to be three?
Give me my own place, yeah.
I forgot. I called,
What do you have?
what, my first two?
Bad Liz.
No. Oh, you can make this chart. You want to be there? You want to be number 3? Can you see it?
No,
You don't.
no.
Joe can be 3.
Just give you that. Motion to take a break?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you want it
Yeah.
off camera?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Peter there?
Just wasting tape.
It is.
Tape.
Waste of tape.
Tape.
His VCR was broken.
Yeah. What, are you gonna be mad because my face will be there for the entire time when you watch it later?
I'll pause it up.
Yeah.
Thanks for,
Okay.
All right.
moving on.
Gonna need a timeout.
Motion to take a break.
We're taking a timeout.
Second.
Joe needs a
You realize there's a little bit of seed that hasn't germinated yet, which we're going to touch up in the spring, but as soon as it warms up. But, I mean, we're pretty much out of there.
Okay. Anybody here a resident of La Civita? No? They must be happy.
Yeah.
All right. And I had something on back, Rob LeBlanc. We didn't have this before, said the trees are fine, fulfill the requirements of section 5-12, so that's okay. Joe, you got anything?
So there's, Maggie saying one item is left on the punch list.
No, she didn't say that. Yeah, you can read it.
Thank you.
It's one of those,
One, two, three. Hold on, hang on a second. Good luck,
Okay.
you all set? You want to read it? I don't know what she's, kind of hard to interpret, but,
You want me to read it?
no, but I'm saying what she said is, that this was dated on the 31st.
It's released, the grass plus on the side street, having limited trees to make the grass not growing. The release not be given until the spring so that it may see that the grass is growing, which he told you it's not growing, he has areas.
The
The
issue-
developer had the street paved late in the fall. There appears to be some areas of the surface of the pavement that may need attention. So this department recommends the bond funds allocated to the subdivision street paving not be released until winter's over. And it can be examined for acceptability in the spring. We would agree with the time frame for this evaluation proposed by the developer, approximately mid-March, hello, that's today, and a report given to the board at that time. How's the street looking, JT?
Oh, that's what she said in the front.
Yeah, she said it's fine.
That's what I'm saying. She,
So it's just the grass,
what that, well,
that's what she says.
that isn't what she said. If I had this to me, I want, just don't address the whole thing, so that's why I'm asking. What does everybody think? If you want
I
to,
drove up there the other day and it looked fine to me, it looked great.
There's no residents here. I'm
Yeah.
hoping it's good.
yeah.
It's a residents hearing. They're not here. That means they must be happy.
Either that or the Walters haven't sent them the last bill.
If Margaret is saying it's okay, did she say that letter is fine?
Yeah,
With
she-
me?
Yeah. She says that she found it to be, punch list 5 attached, the department has determined the subdivision paving is okay. So,
She said she wanted to check it in mid-March. It's mid-March. So she said it's okay.
Well, yeah.
all right. I'll make a motion to, since nobody else here, to release the bond.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. JT's out of here at 7:35.
What do you want to do about the street acceptance?
Well, what do you mean?
Do you want to release it and proceed?
Yeah, we got it. Once we got to do it, that's
I was
the
adding
next. It has to go,
I was
yeah.
adding that to the motion.
All right, you all set? So you can clock out at 7:36 there, JT.
We're going to round that off to 8. Thank you.
Rusty, you were here to midnight. Send him that.
Dan Foster says hi, by the way. I'm going to play hockey with him.
Who?
Dan Foster.
Oh, he's playing goalie for you?
No, he plays out.
Oh, is he any good out?
I'm not going to say it on TV. He's not that good.
He lives in Franklin.
I'll see you.
So, yeah. All right. Good. The hour being after 7:34, we have a public hearing for 100 Elm Street. Where'd you get that? That's a nice little notebook.
Yes, it is.
Is that something, not to write notes on, but just write?
You know, yeah, it is.
Extension and extension is right down the
Okay. Okay. And the new stuff is here, Kate?
There's nothing new.
Nothing. Yeah, there was. Lana's.
Oh, that's, yeah, that's in there, so.
Under what, email? Okay. Okay, got the hearing open. Mr. Bobrowski?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board members. My name is Mark Bobrowski. My office is in Concord, and I represent TMC, the Manzo Company. I want to start this evening by describing for you some good news, and I think we may owe it to Mr. Moraski. because the last time I was here, he had the very good idea that Corcoran should be able to park its tenants in its own building. And I'm pleased to say that, based upon conversations Phil Mackey has described to me with your building commissioner, it is now possible for Corcoran to count 117 spaces in its structured parking underneath the residential units towards its own purposes, and that, of course, would be leased parking spaces to the tenants. And that's an interpretation that the building inspector, building commissioner now supports. So with that bit of good news, it provides us with a bit of, and I'll leave Mr. Mackey to describe that conversation, because I'm hearing it secondhand from him. I'm sure he can give you more detail than I just did. It does give us some flexibility in terms of the conversation that we began back on January 19th. I was wary at the time that, knowing that we needed 214 spaces and we only had a surplus at that time of 47 spaces, that we would fall below the 214. But with 117 spaces now in the building for Corcoran, instead of in lots 2 and 5 on your plan, it seems that there's a bit of opportunity here to discuss upgrading the parking lots, modernizing them, if you will, to come into current standards with regard to both the Conservation Commission and Section 8 of the zoning bylaw. So with that, in our absence, Mike Manzo, sitting behind me, has had a couple of meetings with Landis Hershey, and I'm going to ask Mike to describe those conversations, and then I'll come back when he's done.
For the record, Mike Manzo, of the Manzo Company. And we did take the comments that we've heard both from the Planning Board and from the Conservation Commission quite seriously. As Mark said, we needed to be sure that all of the parking pieces of the puzzle fit together, and we think with the new interpretation with Attorney Mackey and the Building Commissioner, it works better. So we've reached out to Landis, and we met earlier this week with David Mackwell and myself. David's here. David will make a little more detailed presentation on the technical aspects. But he's going to show you a plan on lots 2-5. That's what we call the West Street parking lot. And that plan will show a much improved stormwater management system and a much improved access and restriping. And stormwater management is outside of my expertise, but we're proposing to eliminate the access directly onto West Street, some sort of a barrier, whether it's a excuse me, whether it's a fence or a hedgerow, 2 means of ingress and egress. We would restripe the parking lot. All of this results in about 30 to 33 reduction in spaces. The current lot is striped for 204, and there would be some 32 or 33 reduction in the number of parking spaces. So we think with the change in the putting a good portion of the Corcoran parking under its building, fee for parking, we now have some flexibility to lose parking and improve the lots. And also on the gravel lot, we will bring that up to full standards as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to David Mackwell, our engineer. Oh, you're going to take it back? Sorry, Mark.
Thank you. Obviously, there's going to be questions, and I think David Mackwell, our engineer, will be able to explain in more detail what Mike was just describing. I also want to thank the board for the opportunity to talk to Ilana Court, your town council, and we did have a discussion about the bylaw and the provisions as it pertains to parking requirements. Long story short is that the change here with the 117 spaces now under the building being attributable to Corcoran led me to section 9.2.c of the bylaw. And that provision, which I'll read to you, if I can get my iPhone to come back to life, indicates that it's headed, special permit and variance uses are not non-conforming uses. Part 2 says, in the case of a special permit or variance, which is not entitled to treatment as a non-conforming situation, the Board of Appeals may grant an additional special permit or variance, which has the effect of extending the special permit. Remember, we have one in 2000. Or variance for an additional period of time, provided such special permit is subject to conditions that, and then there are 2, A, are not more permissive than those of the recently approved special permit, That would be a comparison between what we propose and the 2000 special permit plan that you've seen. And here's what I'm sure you'll appreciate even more. Bring the situation closer to compliance with the provisions of the zoning bylaw. So we will be asking the ZBA, that'll be in time for its April 19th date. Our application will be due on March 23rd, or we won't make the deadline. We will be asking them for some specific release for parking lots 2, 5, and 6, bringing them closer to compliance. And I'm told that the standards that we're actually seeking to have a bit of relief on would be things like aisle width. Your current bylaw prescribes 26 feet. We'd be looking for 24 feet. Some parking space standards, the drainage regulations call for concrete pipe. I think that's outmoded at this point in time. So we want to enumerate each and every one of these things we seek relief on. And Mr. Mackwell will be working hard to get that package ready for the 23rd. So that's our expectation, is that we will submit a second special permit application, if you will, to the ZBA for relief under the provision that I just read to you. And now I'd like to ask David if he could give you a more detailed description of the changes suggested by Landis Hershey and by his review of the parking regulations.
Thank you. Go ahead, David. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board. Is it okay if I bring this a little closer than way over here? So you can
As long as the camera can pick it up.
Yeah, so we find the happy medium for the camera and the committee. There's your camera there.
Okay. I'm just going to try to make this simple. So, as noted at the previous planning board hearings, and listening to the board members and also the Conservation Commission 2 weeks ago, we took a harder look at the parking lot plan that's currently out there today, and listened to some of the displeasures about, this is the street right here, and currently, there's a row of parking right along the street that cars just come in and out right along the street. We figured to complement the brand-new building that's proposed there, one of the best things that we could do was to take out some pavement, organize the parking lots, and come to 2 clean curb cuts, one at either end of the parking lot, put a green strip in that would accommodate some street trees every 30 feet or so, as recommended with working with the landscape architect for Corcoran to complement the building and the streetscape. Provide a landscape buffer. We can also provide, the bylaws a little bit silent on parking lots that don't have buildings in the central business district, but we think the intent was you don't want the lights going into the street. We can provide a small hedgerow or a screen fence along the front as well, to take the curse off that. In addition to that, we took a look at how the parking lot was organized and where we can take some pavement out to reduce the amount of pavement there. So everywhere you see green on this plan is where there's currently pavement, that when we reorganize the parking lot and make the stalls a little bit more conforming to the zoning bylaw, that we can't use it, and also figured we could use it as an amenity and got a lot of it up in the front to help shield the parking lot. So we do, it does come with a reduction of parking. I think that just in the way the order of magnitude goes, the special permit of 2,000 granted for 225 parking stalls. The site currently operates with 204 because they really needed a little bit more access and maneuvering than even that 2,000 plan. And then with the plan that we drew that will require some relief, we'll be at 183 parking stalls. And working with the attorneys and the developers, and knowing that the town's very concerned about not only accommodating all the parking needs for Walpole Business Center, the apartments, and also commuter needs, we're trying to maximize the parking and get the best we can. So that is the plan that we have discussed, and we're prepared to further apply for the relief, and also ultimately obtain permission from the Conservation Commission to construct the parking lot. We also took a look at the drainage and how this particular parking lot works. I'll briefly just describe how it works now. Currently, about 2/3 of the parking lot sheet directly through the parking lot and into the river. about a third of it sheets toward West Street in this direction. We took a look at where we might be able to take out some pavement to accommodate some rain gardens and things like that. In this particular site, the area that we have targeted that we can take the pavement out, it actually turns to be a lot higher than the low point. The low point's actually down in this area over here. So without doing more surgery, when we met with Landis, we figured we could put a water quality device in that would meet the current standards for what they call TSS removal, or treatment of runoff. We can place some subsurface recharge under the parking lot that would help feed the groundwater. We have no drainage at all, and then we would ultimately overflow that back to the brook. In the area that we really can't get over this way, that's coming to the street now, with the addition of the greenscape in the front, we can kind of guide runoff to one collection point here, and also put in a water quality device that will bring the runoff into current standards for water quality, and move forward in that direction. So that is the way we've chosen to approach redeveloping the parking lot in a way that makes sense for everybody. And we think that this does make sense, and we'd like to hear any input that if the planning board has any, and we're ready to make an application with the zoning board for the dimensional relief that will be needed. So I don't know if we wanted to talk about the other parking lot now, so I'm gonna.
Well, we can, but I think you were hoping to get some feedback from the planning board.
Well, we can, does the improvements that we are suggesting seem to make sense? We met with Landis, and she thought it met all the criteria that the commission may be looking for. And, we're just presenting it now, and we're getting ready to formalize the submission to the ZBA, and ultimately would amend the site plan application that's before you to include those documents.
All set?
Sure. We also took a hard look at what we call parking lot 6 in the parking studies. This is the Elm Street gravel lot. And we took a look at that with bringing it into current standards. We took a drive out there. We don't have as much detailed survey on this one as the other parking lot with respect to the grades, but we had a ALTA survey that showed us all of the limits of the gravel, showed us an approximate wetland line, and gave us something that we could overlay and figure out a way to get some parking stalls in there in a reasonable manner. Currently, there are 95 parking stalls. This plan is one of the exhibits in the plan set. When we take a look at some of the dimensions, we realize they're significantly undersized with respect to zoning. So when we redo this parking lot, similarly, we're going to work within the gravel areas that are currently gravel. So what you would see on this plan, that's the lighter green, would be areas where we can re-landscape what's currently gravel. We would put as many parking stalls in here as we can, and we'll be applying for similar relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals for the dimensional aisle widths. And then in this particular lot, taking a look around, we don't have a big elevation change between the gravel lot and the land around it. We think we can get 2 rain gardens in 2 corners of the parking lot to try to make it a significant improvement in water quality within that parking lot. So in total, we go from 95 stalls on this one down to 82. So I think we're losing approximately 21 in the West Street lot, and an additional 12 or so, 13 here on this lot. And with the benefit of being able to use the parking garage stalls toward the zoning count, it really helps the count of what the excess stalls will be at the end of the day, assuming that we can get the relief from the ZBA for some dimensional requirements and make the improvements that we are currently considering. So with that, through the chairman, I would entertain any questions or comments, and I'll turn it over back to Mr. Bobrowski.
Okay.
Chairman, in summary, as David said, we're going to lose about 30 spaces, plus or minus. I think 34 is the current estimate. But I want to emphasize that we still will have enough parking to support all the activities by the Business Center, by Corcoran, and by commuters for the MBTA, whether you look at this as a requirement of zoning. For example, our requirement currently under zoning for all of the space that Manzo has on the premises is 214 spaces. And I know Corcoran's asking for relief for 235 spaces. When you add in the commuter lots, there's still just under 1,000 parking spaces that are on the premises. And we think that the reorganization, the modernization, if you will, of this parking will be of great benefit. So we'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Are we moving in the right direction? We don't expect you to give us any kind of a definitive answer, just sort of a green light, yellow light approach. If there's anything we've left out, we'd certainly like to hear that. As I said, we will be filing our application with the ZBA by the 23rd to make the April 19th meeting. We thank the board for the opportunity that comes along with the suggestion Mr. Moraski made, taken to heart by the building commissioner. It's opened a door, and I think it's a great step forward for both Manzo, Corcoran, and for the town.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I'm not sold on the parking yet, by any means. Underneath the building, you're adding 117 parking spaces, is that correct?
No, underneath the building of the parking spaces that are being constructed, Corcoran will be able to count 117 of them as spaces for their tenants. They're not adding more.
Where's those 117 coming from?
They're in the building now.
Oh, they're in the building?
Yes.
They're in the...
How many total spaces are?
146.
There's 146. So the building commissioner has basically decided that 117 of them can be counted, but there's a total of 146. The other ones are not going to be available to the Corcoran tenants.
Yeah.
Those are for the commercial users, and I suppose that the surplus there would be available for commuters. But only 117 can be counted as Corcoran parking spaces for tenants.
Corcoran, yeah. I drove down there a couple of times just to check out the site. There was cars parked irregularly all over the place. You drive down and you couldn't get around, you couldn't turn around. So it's chaotic, to say the least.
We hope this will solve that
Yeah,
problem.
I'm hoping. So I'd like to take up Mr. Moraski's comment the last meeting. I think we should hire a consultant to look at the numbers. And I suggest some consultant that hasn't worked for the Corcoran or the Manzo group in the past. So I'll leave that with Joe to continue with. I'm still worried about the MBTA parking. Once Corcoran takes, he's going to take up a lot of these spaces. That's my own. It's a good project. Don't get me wrong. And, it's. I'll have more to say later on. Thank you. Okay.
Mark?
I have a couple of very simple questions, and I may have missed it. Lot 6, are you planning on paving Lot 6 or leaving it gravel?
We'll pave it. I'm going to move from behind the board, so
Okay.
It'll be paved.
So it'll be brought up to as close to standards as the zoning board allows you to do?
Yes, correct. It'll be paved and with the groundwater management, stormwater management.
Okay. On the other one, on West Street, I just didn't see it on the plan. On the greenscape separator that you have along West, is there going to be any kind of a sidewalk there, any kind of pedestrian walkway along that stretch, or no?
Let me answer that if I may, David. It's the question, where does the sidewalk go? There's no sidewalk here, no sidewalk over here.
Right.
So the intention is, and David, and certainly not technical activities, this is intended to be a screen. Oh, I'm sorry, you want me to use a phone? Thank you. The green is intended to be both a visual screen and provide additional pervious surface, taking out impervious surface, also to be part of the stormwater management. And what we want to do is direct pedestrians as part of the Corcoran plan as well to these new crosswalks. These are part of the traffic and parking study that was part of the reports, and they're kind of what I would call new highly illuminated crosswalks. So the idea is that we would filter the pedestrians to these two areas, and they would cross more safely. If you had a sidewalk here, where can you go? You can't, there's no more sidewalk here, and there's no more sidewalk going down Riverview Place. So this would mostly channel pedestrians into these two new crosswalks.
Okay. Liz?
Okay, so my questions for you was, you have for fee parking, right? Is that what you're going to do with lots 2 and 5? That's going to be for a fee, the parking in lots 2 and 5 there?
Well, the building inspector gave us an interpretation which shaped our original application to both you and the ZBA. We have 214 spaces when you take the commercial calculation that has to be made, that are required. So we're not proposing to lease those for a fee. In the original plan, we had 47 extra, and we did ask to lease 47 spaces for a fee. We think the original 2000 special permit allowed all 534 spaces to be leased for a fee, but we just acceded to the building inspector's recommendation, and I asked for only 47. Now, those numbers may change because of the numbers being moved around a little bit here, and we'll modify that application at the ZBA accordingly.
So the lots 2 and 5 are just for that Corcoran building?
The lots 2 and 5, as originally proposed, had 173 spaces earmarked for Corcoran and the other 31 for the Manzo companies. And they weren't physically divided, I think I said this last
Right.
time. You're going to get stickers, and that's the way
Right,
it's
so you
filled
have
out.
185 there now?
Correct.
Right, and so that's just strictly for that building? Because I thought you said it was for fee parking.
Well, no,
Fee.
no, the 117 in the Corcoran building will be for fee parking, and then we'll figure out what Corcoran needs in lots 2 and 5 in order to get to the 235 that's in their application. So they're only going to need 118 more spaces.
Right, so
Lots-
you have 183, then what are you going to do with the rest of those?
We'll lease them for a fee.
So that is for fee parking, that's what I'm
Yes,
asking.
yes.
So it's for
I
a
mean,
fee?
The Manzo company still needs some portion of that, but whatever is surplus, we would ask to lease for a fee. And certainly
Right.
Lot 6 as well.
So 2 and 5, where commuters currently park to use the MBTA?
Yes.
They would be able to use the extra spots that you have in there
Yes.
after you make up your numbers for Corcoran. So how are you going to divide out what belongs to Corcoran, the difference between the 117 and where you have to be with what they need for that structure?
We're going to have lengthy conversations by Wednesday when we want to file our application to give you that answer.
Okay, so you have the egress and the out for that. So you're not planning on possibly putting a physical divider in there to do that, so that?
No, it would be leased as an entirety, but they would have a certain number of stickers, we would have a certain number of stickers, the MBTA would have, the commuters would have a certain number of stickers. So you could park anywhere, it's not like there will be a section for Corcoran and a
Yeah,
section.
that was, okay,
It's just
that was my
intermingled.
question.
As long as you have any valid sticker, you'd be in the lot.
Now, did you do the homework on Lot 6 and find out, was that a legal parking lot ever?
Mike had an interesting conversation with somebody who was the caretaker out there a long time ago. Hang on.
Thank you. We talked to a gentleman who worked for us for about a year that worked actually for the Kendall Company, original owners and builders and manufacturers on that site, and also to a contractor, Mr. PJ of PJ Hayes. And that lot, as a parking lot, goes back literally many decades. The manager, Bob, not Zucker, but Zaker, now retired, living in Florida, said that when he was at Kendall, actually working in the mills, it was used as a parking lot and was leased to commuters. So the answer to your question is, we cannot find any evidence that there was part of the 2000 permit. However, Bob, again, the gentleman who's now retired, when we talked to him, he said, yes, of course it's part of the 2000 permit. I was involved in it. And he said, maybe, do you have the plans? And we said, yeah, we have the plans. And he said, well, they made a mistake of the plans. He's a little profane. I won't repeat his language. We were under the impression that it was part of the 2000, but to be honest, we don't have any evidence that where it was approved or not approved.
Okay, and the last thing that I had to ask is I understand that you are putting those trees up, so are we going to have some site issues there? We're going to have somebody check on the site when you're pulling out so you can see, because that's an awful curve right there, especially where that bridge goes over by the left-hand side of your property.
Again, you're talking about Lot 6 or the gravel lot?
No, 2 and 5.
Oh, 2 and 5. Well, the intention there is, and David's here, we like the idea of putting up street trees, did I say that right? Street trees, sorry, along the perimeter of the property to kind of match the landscaping that the landscape architect has proposed for the Corcoran property. So in our mind's eye, we see this kind of almost the corridor of landscaping that kind of is very compatible with each other. I use that lot when I'm down here. I've been here many times, including this evening, to watch cars come and go. I might add, over the 5 years that we've owned the lot, there has been no accidents in the lot that we know of or into West Street. But we see that as being just a low barrier. The trees will be higher, the low barrier that will block the headlights from shining onto West Street. Could be again, some landscaping, working with the Corcoran's architect, could be a fence, something to block the front of the cars that would park up to West Street. I hope that answers your question.
Right, I was just wondering, as you're pulling out, you'd be able to see.
Yeah.
Right.
I can help answer that a little bit. The way we chose the locations for the proposed curb cuts is, the first one's going to be directly across from the driveway for the apartments.
Right.
So that's in the best spot it can be. And the second one's actually past West Street on Riverview, where you're well beyond the traffic
Oh,
of
okay,
West
okay,
Street.
yep,
So
I
there
gotcha.
really isn't, like today, you kind of
You can
come out into
there.
no man's land, so to
Exactly.
speak. So that
Right.
is the piece that's being eliminated, is the no man's land, where you have a
Okay,
very
yep, I see
defined
that.
curb cut directly across from other conflicts, where we have a nice straight shot here, and down on this way,
So
on
you've
this side, we're
extended- yeah,
on
you
the
have it on the
side
other
street
side,
where you
yeah.
come to the current intersection.
Okay,
So-
yep, no, I thought you were where it is right now, where it's across from the street that takes you up to the MBTA. Okay.
Yeah, that's like right.
That's right
in
there,
here.
that's right, yeah.
Right, so we're getting,
Okay.
that will be close.
That's it, thanks.
You know, is that, Joe?
Thank you. First of all, since we haven't seen these, there's no commitment here, right?
No.
We're just preliminarily speaking about that. Okay. I think we're headed in the right direction. I wish that all the parking under the building would have gone to the Corcoran Apartments. If there was ever an example or a reason why, it's Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, because the resident parking would have been underneath, the open-aired lots would have gotten plowed, and Wednesday, everything turned to ice. So if the cars didn't move out of the open-air parking lot overnight, the plowing would have been really a problem, and you would have been stuck. Somebody would have been stuck for, I'm still banging on ice myself, so I think you people would have been banging on ice too. So I understand why, but I still think there's reason enough to do that. There's no shared parking in this scheme, right? Is there shared parking?
No.
Okay. The MBTA, there was a discussion last time we met, I think, that one of the two groups were going to go to the MBTA and have further discussion. Did that ever occur? And what was the result of it?
It was an interesting meeting. We've been working with the MBTA and DOT for a couple of technical reasons, and I'll just add this: the MBTA has 3 power poles on our property without an easement, and we've been asking them politely to relocate them. So I went there with Peter Mahoney from Corcoran. Corcoran needs to file a permit because they're building within certain number of feet of the rail right-of-way, and they've done that several times before. They clarified what the DOT wants. This was a meeting with the DOT. We talked about the prospect of this extra train line running into Foxborough, and they were very unresponsive on it in the sense they did not give it, I'm being candid, much credibility. One of the people at the meeting said, well, Governor Baker is not overly excited about this option. The gentleman brought up an issue, I think the gentleman's here tonight, about fencing. Their comments to us was, we never put fencing up, never, unless it's an absolute life safety, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's sort of off the table. It was a good meeting. They understand our issues. They understand Corcoran's issues. And we also talked about that is outside of the purview of both what we're doing and Corcoran's doing, but across the street, there is a lot which the MBTA owns and is not being used today. And they recently put out a bid, probably within about the last month, to make that lot available to a private party that would park an additional some 35 cars during the day on it for MBTA commuters. So in all of this, that was sort of the outcome.
So what was lost could be gained.
It could be. It's outside of our control and outside of our ownership of the lots, but we were surprised to see that bid come up. I shouldn't say surprised, we were delighted to see it come up because it provides more MBTA parking.
Okay. And in this plan for lots 2 and 5,
Yes.
what's to prevent pedestrians from haphazardly or willy-nilly just crossing where they wanted to cross and not using the crosswalk?
Again, I think the hedgerow, and there's no sidewalk, there's a hedge, or some fencing there, so if you get out of your car, you can't cut across West Street. You're going to have to find the pedestrian entrance to bring you safely across it.
Okay. And one other question.
Sure.
Wouldn't it be better to refile this parking situation and all the amendments and everything and the great improvements that you're heading towards? Wouldn't it be a better decision to refile and start anew?
I will have to turn that over to our attorney.
We're certainly here to listen to suggestions, and we'll consider that.
You all set?
All set.
All right. One item, we're gonna need extension anyway, so I wanna bring that up. I got a bunch of stuff. First, I don't think we've talked necessarily about the process, and we always talk about lot counts. What I would like to see is all the lots on a piece of paper that's lined out to us as how this goes, because right now it's here, 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 nobody knows. Now, the second thing is what you need to do is part of however you do it, you need to establish how many spaces you need for the current building. Not what you're selling, the whole thing, and you guys haven't done that yet, correct?
No, we've done that for the Manso Corporation.
Not just for his part that he's gonna keep, I'm talking about the part that's gonna be sold.
They've done that, and so you add the two together, and it's 214 is required for us, and 235 is their application for the special permit in front of
No,
the
not
zoning
what I'm saying, okay, hear me out once again. If Cochran never goes through, you're gonna be left with a parking lot. We need something, or you're gonna be left with the building as it is. We need to know how many spaces that entire site needs to accommodate versus what's excess.
Okay, we certainly had a conversation with our parking consultant today, and I can ask him to prepare that.
Because it's very simple, if you just look at it like this, if Cochran decides not to do it or whatever,
Yeah.
you're coming to us to tell us how many spaces. We won't know how many you need for the other, and how many excess, say if you wanted to, say, never do it again, but just go out and lease them to the T, you walk in, you say, okay, this is our excess. So we have that on the record.
Sure.
Okay? Now, another thing is lots, the Elm Street lot. All right, you're gonna be filing that with this whole site plan?
Yes.
All right. Now, the zoning board, I don't believe, has any control over how you make a parking lot. I believe that comes through us. I know you're gonna get stormwater managers from conservation, but I don't believe they have that ability. I think that's gonna be up to our standards.
Well, as I read to you from your zoning bylaws, section 9.2.c.2 says that the ZBA can give us a special permit to move a non-conforming parking lot authorized by a special permit, that's exactly what we have from 2000, toward
Elm
closer
Street
to-
is not on that special permit.
Oh, you're right with regard to Elm
That's,
Street. Right.
and that's also what a lot of quirks said, that's a whole separate, that's why I'm asking how you're gonna deal with that.
Right.
I understand over here, you gotta understand how you're gonna deal with that. And as regards to the history of that, I lived here all my life, lived up on Elm Street since '88. That was sold by the Kendall Company to not you guys, Historic Realty. And Kendall's didn't use it for the T parking lot, because one of the reasons they didn't, they had downsized, they had no reason to do it. So that has just, that evolved, that just came, and boom, it landed here. So I do not believe there's any indication that that has any rights. It just, somebody just planned, it's like building a house on a vacant lot. So that's kind of where you're starting from.
I understand. We'll take a closer look at that and try to match the parking requirements.
But as I'm saying is, are you going to use that as part of the whole? Because that's a big deal, correct? Now you're gonna have to do a different thing with the conservation, because that is in the wetlands, and it is in the floodplain, there's a portion of it. So, I mean, that's a very difficult task I would see ahead. So I'm just not warning you, I think you guys understand it, but if it may pull the rest of it down a little bit.
Yeah, and I know that these gentlemen have both conversed with Landis about this, and we're going to, obviously, we need to make her happy, so.
Well, you also have to make us happy, because that's our parking lot too. I mean, we're the planning board.
We know that, and we need to match up the plan that's approved by the Concom with your approval.
And, okay, and if it's going to be a paid lot, then you're gonna have to get a special permit, as you know,
Right.
for the paid lot, separate from everything else. Will you be doing that all at the same time?
Well, we've already applied for 47 parking spaces for a fee, and so we are filing a new application just for relief in lots 2 and 5, per the provision that I read to you. And if I need to ask the ZBA to modify the number for a fee, obviously we'll do that at the same time.
Just, okay, because either that, or you come back at another time for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
The other question is, let's see, we haven't seen any letter from the building inspector, so we're not even sure what that's about. I did read through town council's response, and once again, sat here for a long time, and I thought I knew it, but I guess every time it goes out to town council, I learn something new. And one of them is, she's saying that you guys have a special permit for across the West Street, when in fact you only filed, you didn't, Historic Realty for present, and she said you can add on to it. It's nothing to do with you guys, but every time I send something to council, it's going the other way. And I know one of the things is that when you do the notifications, chances are, if you included across the street, which I think we had with you, this isn't against you, this is what I get back from town council,
Yep.
is the notifications didn't go far enough. So, once again, it's a little disappointing, but what you did say is, and that's why you alluded to earlier, is that there's something about, and you've read this, I'm sure, Mr. Bobrowski, something about, what do they call it, vested right, but you did indicate that the Elm Street lot is not a vested right, so, and I think you understand that. The other question, or I would advise, only because it's come out here at this meeting, is there is a state statute that allows a town not to accept an application for any type of permits, provided there's outstanding fees. And as we've found is, you have outstanding fees for both Elm Street and West Street. So my advice is that needs to get cleaned up somehow.
Can you tell us what kind of fees?
You haven't paid for the MBTA parking licenses fees.
We paid for
You paid you had 47, that was a month ago when I checked.
Every year, we get a bill, if you will, or an invoice from the town for the 2,000 special permit parking.
For 47. That's all you've paid. That's what was special permit back in 2000. I'm the only one who was around then. We did it up on the hill. That was for those 47. There's never been a payment for the other MBTA spaces, Elm Street or the other one. So you're gonna have to get that cleaned up before.
I'll check on it, but I was certain we had paid, because I know I remember seeing the check go out.
You have paid for 47.
Paid for 47, just
47 up on the top of the hill per 2,000, which was 33, 21, up on the hill. Wasn't you, it was Historic Realty did it, and that's what they've been paying for.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, the rest of the lot, the reason you only paid for the 47, or they did, because the rest of the lot was all tenants. There was gyms there was a bunch of other stuff there, so everything down in your area was not used for paid parking for the T, across the street and west and Elm. So I would suggest
I'll check on it, yeah.
you're gonna
I
have
thought
to,
we
because
were-
that is,
Yep.
could be an issue, or it is an issue.
Mr. Chairman, could you tell Mr. Manzo from whom you got that information to shorten up his hunt here a bit? Who should he talk to?
The licensing board.
Licensing?
Yep. Who, better one, kind of wise guy, who just sent the check to? Other than the town of Walpole, but I know. It's the licensing board, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it goes right to the license or right to the town.
The reason I wonder is that on the permit
When you go
that
to
comes
Cindy.
in, it references the information from the 2000 special permit.
I know it does, and I'm not, what I'm saying is, these other ones appeared, and they haven't been, plus the state's gotta get their kick too, because they do get a kick of all paid parking.
I'll check on it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
You could start with Cindy Berube.
Yeah.
Cindy Berube, B-E-R-U-B-E.
Well, thank you.
Okay, the other thing is, Ms. Quirk in here, it sounds like she had a talk, but she says, my understanding, their leases, what you need to do is at least provide us with a copy of the leases to say you could terminate any time, because I would not be willing to vote for anything where it says you can't terminate the lease until 2020, okay? So whatever you have with the agreements for the 2 lots, I think you'd at least, you should be showing them to us that they're a tenant at will, so to speak, or if there's a termination date of July this year, then that would be conditioned on it, so.
I'd like to ask your forbearance. We're happy to give them to you, but I may not give them to you in the application package because I don't think they're drafted yet, and I don't think we'll have them by Wednesday. So, but you will certainly get them before we are asking you to approve anything, so
Okay.
that they are approvable by you.
Yeah, I'm not, all I'm saying is, like I said, is if you guys are committed till June 15th,
Yeah.
then that would be my recommendation for condition, that this does not take effect until June 16th at the conclusion termination of those.
That's fine.
So I'm just trying to cross the i's and dot the t's, so to speak. And those were my only comments based upon what you have, and I can't emphasize Lot 6. It'd be good to get it up to where it should be, but like I said, that was always vacant. Kendall's didn't need it. Matter of fact, when they started downsizing, there wasn't a whole lot left at that time, so. Anyway, and I think most people in this town thought the T owned that lot. That they, because when they built across the street, they just came in and did it because they don't need any approvals other than conservation. So I think everybody's got an assumption, but lo and behold, we don't have anything anywhere that says it's a lot. And I know it predated Mr. Manzo buying the property, so,
Did.
okay. I do not have anything else. Anybody in the audience have any questions, comments relative? Mr. Hamilton? Close, yeah. He needs all that.
And I know parking is a major issue, and last night I heard that they broke a log jam by designating in the building parking commercial. And by doing that, they satisfied some requirement for parking. Now, my question is, what really is commercial? Now, my understanding for property is that you have to provide so many spaces for an apartment. Now, if there were 1 space or 2 spaces, and I'm not sure, I thought I heard 1 space per apartment, but if there were 2 spaces and you designate that area commercial, commercial to me means anyone that's willing to pay the fee can park in there. Now, I heard tonight, I didn't hear last night, but I heard tonight that there's going to be a sticker type thing. So parking will be a little willy-nilly. In other words, people with stickers will come in and park, and they'll have to find a parking place. There won't be a sign like you sometimes find. I know in Boston, I visited people in Boston, and they have assigned parking spots, and that's where they park. And if you're visiting them, some of them have visitors parking. Now, I haven't heard anything about visitor parking, so I assume there's none. There's no parking for visitors.
Well, first off, Bill, you're talking about the Cochrane project, which this is not. You saw something last night I didn't know about. We're hearing tonight for the first time, the building inspector and commercial. So everything you mentioned to us is all new to us, and most of that will be dealt with the zoning board. So we're kind of clueless right now anyway, because we don't have that information from the building inspector, but the zoning board is going to determine. We got to determine exactly what they need for the rules and regs, then they go to the zoning board, and the zoning board says, yeah, you either need this or something somewhat less.
Oh, I thought that the planning board was required for making sure that enough parking was required.
Correct. So if they need 200 spaces, they got to show us 200 spaces, but if they can only provide 150, they go see the zoning board and say, can you give us 150? And the zoning board grants it, then they're all set. We can't give variances. They got to come to us, if they need 200, they got to show us 200. Unless they get a piece of paper or a decision from the zoning board that says, yeah, they need 200, but we're going to grant them relief to 150. The zoning board's the key in all this. We're just the, 1 and 1 is 2, yeah, that's true.
Oh, okay, now on the Department of Transportation, now, there's a video that's been shown where they do say that they're going to provide fencing up to the bridge. They said that on the video. Now, they may have changed, I don't know, but I do know that when you walk up that aisle, or that pathway to the train station, you can't see a train coming. And I know I've walked up there on the rare occasion that a freight train was coming, and they had a crew there back then. So there would be 1 or 2 people out there working the switch, and then making sure people were aware that there was a freight train coming. Now, without anyone, right now, they did say that they were going to change that switch to an electronic switch, which would be automatic. So they're not going to be there to service it.
Okay, once again, that's for the Cochran ended. This is the Manzo, they don't, I don't want to
Well,
say they don't care, but they're not.
He opened the door when he said that they wouldn't have fencing.
Oh, I understand that, but we have Cochran coming up
Okay,
next.
no, I just wanted to say
All
that.
right, and I could wait to Cochran, but if you suggest that, I'm sure anybody who's gonna rent apartments is gonna say, well, if they're not gonna put one up, I'll put one up. Right? It would be,
Well-
move them.
I would imagine that for safety purposes, where they're not going to have someone there manned warning people about the train, that there would be
There's
a
another
fence.
thing in the law, Bill, called attractive nuisance, and that's how I told them they gotta put one at CVS. Remember, once upon a time was all, what do you call it, picket?
Right.
It was all, and then they knocked that down, they want to put it up, and I said, that's an attractive nuisance. Now you're moving CVS's front door closer to it, so now the kids have a better shot going. So you better put one up, and they did, because they realized they were going to be liable by,
I remember that,
so they ended up with that. So that could be the same thing on this one, but that's for the next hearing.
Now, the other thing is, on the parking, when you don't have designated parking for guests, then they're on their own. And the people who are not guests, like when the police have to respond, they're going to be on their own also to find a parking place so that they can do whatever they have to do within the building. Then, of course, you have an ambulance and you have fire trucks and all of that. And that's going to cause all kinds of congestion in that area. And so,
Well, once again, that's for the Cochran, but also, more importantly, this has gone, and when it gets revised, we'll go to the police and fire, so it's up to them to make the comments.
now, I know there was some controversy over who has special permits. Now, I guess the planning board has a special permit that they issue or can be issued if it's applied for.
The only thing we do is I think
Water
we,
resource.
just water resource. Once upon a time, we got rid of that a couple years ago, because what was really stupid is you would have to come in front of us for a site plan when you did a special permit with us, and at the time, TDs wanted to have music. You want to do a site plan, why are we doing it? So it's better just to take the special permits out where they belong for just that entity, or even Jalapenos had to do a site plan, well, they kind of did, to file, when they filed a special permit for a pool table. That's all gone now, because it wasn't making any sense, because almost these places downtown are already built and they're looking for something. So we don't do that anymore. We do it for the water resource protection, only on the new stuff.
Okay, now, when you say water resource, I know that there is a contemplation of a water shortage coming because we're going to outbuild our water supply. But the thing is, now, I understand that the water and sewer, and I don't know if they've notified you, they want to have an agreement with these different hotels and stuff and apartments where they will be able to charge more money for water usage
Once
above.
again, with the planning board.
So you don't have anything to do with that?
Yeah, nothing to do with that. the water and sewer gonna charge more money. We're gonna have to build an addition on their water department to put all their money.
No, they
The money they
say
get from-
they're broke.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I hate to write the
But,
check
you
for
know,
those.
And I guess just an aside comment, people have a right to build, and I have no objection to that. But, when you see a lot of special permits and other things that are being waived, I would think that where we are in a situation where we may be short water, that the town wouldn't be issuing these, but that's not your concern. I
No,
thought-
no, but all your points are valid, Bill. It's just that we gotta stay with this, and if the police and fire, we gotta go with what they give us, the water and sewer. And if you take issue with that, stop up Monday nights on Washington Street, right next to Kate's house.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any questions, comments? Okay, you all set, Mr. Bobrowski?
Mr. Chairman, a couple of questions, if I might.
Yep.
The gentleman made a suggestion that you engage a consultant to look at this. First, I would remind you that Nitch, Judith Nitch Engineering, Inc., has looked at this already on the escrow account established by both Mr. Manzo and Corcoran in advising the pre-permit stages of this with the Board of Selectmen. So they have a familiarity with this that they wouldn't need to get up to the learning curve on. It's up to you, I understand that, I just want to point that out.
Well, what I find interesting, and nobody on this, anything that you guys had done previous and paid for, it's never come this way. It's in some little file down the hall, we haven't seen it, which,
We're happy to provide it, but I think...
well, I would have hoped that
But to the
the people had
gentleman's
it done.
point, I think it would actually need to be re-examined at this point if we're...
Well, since you brought it up, Mr. Bobrowski, we don't have that. I'll defer to John to see if he wants to take a look at it before he makes the motion on the next time, because it will be, would you like to see what she come up with, since we haven't seen it?
I definitely would.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll have a full set of that here Monday at the latest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that consultant is working for you and Manzo, is that correct?
No, that consultant worked for the town.
Oh, for the town,
Worked
yeah.
for
Worked
Mr.
for the
Johnson's
selectmen.
office and to help him advise the Board of
Oh,
Selectmen.
definitely, we want to see that.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. And,
Now, remember that the numbers are changing because of what the building inspector has decided, but the basic principles are there, so.
And Mr. Chairman, as we get deeper into this, you're filing the application on Wednesday, you say?
With the ZBA,
ZBA. Yeah, we could
the 23rd, whatever that
have
date is, I think
the
it's
consultants
Thursday.
at the meeting.
Well, you gotta take a look at what, she's already worked for the selectmen, so
Yeah.
take a look at it. If you need more, next meeting, we
Yeah.
can determine that, John.
Yeah.
But,
Leave it at that.
because it's gotta be fair to them, they paid for this, but it was under the control of selectmen,
Yeah.
and we should look at what they have. It'd be nice if, they'd send it down to us.
One more question. Did we sort out the town council's fees? I got an email from Ms. Dennehy.
No, because we've never been asked, so.
Yeah, I think she's working it out with them.
Well,
Well,
she has emailed me and asked me whether if she were involved in further work, we'd be willing to pay some money into an account so that her bill could
Well,
be covered.
nothing against you, but once again, it gets taken out of our hands, so to speak. And it's just amazing how the bill, and I didn't think what we sent to her was that much. I'm not sure what discussions you had, how long, but it seemed like, and we had something recently, Mr. Bobrowski, on a couple O&Ms and something for a subdivision, and it lit up the email airwaves. And I look at that versus what you guys did, and I go, that should have been 30 grand, and I haven't heard a peep on it, so.
Well, we did have a conversation, I'll say it was less than an hour, that's for sure. Obviously, she had to read
Coleman
my
pays you
two-page...
$5,000 an hour?
I'm just, I'm staying out of this one.
What I'm saying is the town shouldn't be responsible.
With regard to
for-
Mr. Muraski's question about refiling, we have paid a filing fee. If we refile, would we be credited, or would we need to refile the fee as well?
Well, I don't know what the rest of the members would do, but I certainly would make a motion to waive it.
Thank you.
And I'd
That
go along
may
with that.
help.
Wait a minute, you're the one who complained about being so low.
Well, yes, but I want to move this along and sort of
Yeah, no, I
get to a
understand.
resolution.
And rest assured,
There's
if you
other
decide to
issues.
hire a peer reviewer, we will put the money into a
Yeah,
53G.
yeah, well, if you get it to us, and John can look at it and see if he's satisfied. If not, we may need one,
Thank you.
another one.
Yeah, we
Okay.
need copies for the board, the entire
I-
board to look at.
I will have them down here on Monday.
Before you sit extension?
Yes, where do I sign?
Well, what do you want us to, what date?
Well, what is your schedule?
So ask you, well, unless you guys are that quick and you got the engineer with a gun to his head, there's a lot of work to be done on the
I
Elm
don't
Street lot.
disagree.
And then you'll be, now, let's talk about that for a moment. Since you're gonna do the Elm Street lot, you're gonna have to file with conservation.
Yes.
So that's gonna kinda go like this. And so I'm gonna say that,
As I said, we're on the ZBA's agenda for, I believe it's the it would be the 19th, Wednesday. And that's the first time we'll have a chance to explain these changes we discussed this
Okay,
evening with
Where I'm
On
going-
May 1st?
well, where I'm going with this is, until you get, at least what I see is, till we determine a lot count, you can't do that until you get lot 6 squared.
Yes.
So then, but you file that with us, but then you gotta go Concom, and usually Concom lasts a lot longer. What do you guys think? Couple months?
Again, what, do you have, what are your late April?
No, not for you, I mean, it's for conservation. Are you all set to file that, all your parking lot improvements with conservation?
What about May 4th?
There's a piece of this, we did have a lengthy discussion with Landis about Lot 6, the timing of what's going on with the planning board and the Corcoran project, and there's an impending taking of that parking lot by the EPA, who are going to take it. and-
No, not West Street, I understand that one. Yeah, they wanna use that to fix the
Right,
river.
well, with respect to lot number 6, with the addition of the ability for the Corcoran project to count the parking within the parking garage, lot number 6 would not be needed for zoning purposes at all, and it would only be needed to supply commuter parking. So we're going to reconsider
You're gonna take that
how
right out?
that approach is, and we'd be willing to make all diligent efforts to decrease the number of parking spaces and increase the quality of the parking lot. So
Well, that, okay, I don't.
we
mean to
we
stop.
did not plan on obtaining a full conservation approval with this process.
Okay. Well, you need, all right. So you understand, Lot 6 doesn't exist. It's dirt. It's gonna have to be brought up to the 2017 standards, which you know is a lot
Well,
of work.
we're looking at those things and working with
No,
Mr.
I
Bobrowski. We're
understand.
going to come to a
And that's where you
determination.
have to file a conservation separate from this other stuff. Now, the question I have, is that gonna stay part of this whole thing, or you guys just gonna sometime in the future just do that?
We were on the phone call with the parking consultant with the total numbers, and we concluded today not to bring him here because we want to have it coordinated.
It's our property. Let me just make a comment.
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead, Lee.
We want Lot 6, and we will do what we have to do to improve it to be acceptable to the planning board and to the Conservation Commission. I believe your question was, how long will it take us to do the engineering and get that approved? I'm not sure, David and I have talked about this, but to us, as Mr. Moraski said, to us, it's on a fast track. We'll do what it takes to get that into the Conservation Commission, ready for their final review and approval ASAP. I don't know what that time period is.
Okay.
In respect to your comments about timing, I know we've been at this now for a lot of months, and everybody's been very patient. I'm not sure what the dates are, but David, how long do you think it would take you to bring this up to speed and get it into,
With Conservation Commission, it would take at least 3 months, because you have to have the wetlands identified, they're not identified, you need to do the survey, it's an undertaking.
My question, Mr. Mansell, is very simple. Do you need Lot 6 to make this go? If you do, it's gonna kinda, I'm just trying to set dates.
Well, no, we don't.
You don't? I would just carve it
don't-
out.
But we don't need Lot 6 for the zoning, but we do want Lot 6 because it is a lot where we provide parking for a fee.
Does it need to be part of this site plan process, though, or could you come back at a later time and
I see.
redo Lot 6?
I don't think I can answer, Is this working? I don't think I can answer that right now, but it's a very good point. Let us take that under consideration. We could get back to you on it.
That's why I'm only thinking if you give us to the, end of April, knowing what you just said and all that, we're gonna be sitting here with just waiting on that. So,
Okay.
What about May 4th?
Well, I was trying to.
Yes.
well, why don't we get the extension?
Well, yeah, it'd be
End
through
of
the
May.
end of May.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we
Right.
need the extension through May 31st.
What is the submission deadline for a May 4th public hearing?
What do you think, Kate?
65 days, right?
No.
About
No.
4 weeks.
No, usually we
For
do
what?
4 weeks.
For what, a public hearing?
Like 35 days technically, you're
Right.
supposed to.
So
35
roughly
days.
April 1st, we'd need to have everything to.
Yeah.
Okay,
But the,
that's a
The-
short leash.
but the departments also have 65 days in which to respond.
No, they're 35, not
They are?
65.
We have to.
We have 65 days.
Oh, we have that with this, they got 35, okay.
So if you continued the hearing until May 4th, and you refiled, assuming the board is willing to waive the fee,
Right.
on or about April 1st, and then we would need an extension through May 31st, I think, just to keep it clean.
That makes sense.
Okay. Say it for camera. Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
I'm not lost on the dates, but we'll work.
We
we'll work
have
that
May
out.
31st?
So
Okay.
Yes.
we need a motion to waive the fee if that's the case.
Well, he
If
is,
if they decide to do it.
yeah, we can wait on that.
Can we
Okay,
have
So
a-
first
okay, well, I'll make a motion to
Yeah.
allow the applicant extension, what?
In order to make the advertising, it would have to be in the last week of
March.
March.
Right, that's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
to make the
Why?
35.
Because April 1st is on a Saturday.
Right.
And
It
May
doesn't
4th
take a
isn't
month.
35 days. They're only 30 days in April.
They could file, though, they could file by March 31st, make the 35 days,
That's 2 weeks.
and then if by April 3rd, Kate gets the ad to the paper, it could run, I mean, the ad doesn't take 4 weeks to run. It could run on the 6th and the 13th, it could run on the 13th and the 20th, it could run
Okay,
on the 20th.
this is for a new filing.
Yeah,
All right, but we're not dealing with a new filing. Forget the new filing. New filing is kind of not part
that
of this.
hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Are you withdrawing this one?
We're going to talk about it over the next few days and come to a conclusion.
Do you, okay, what I'd,
Okay.
I see some sympathy for a fee waiver, it's an important
my,
issue for us.
my suggestion, well, first off, I'll make a motion to get this, so you still want to keep this going. You can always pull it any time.
Yes.
Okay, so I make a motion to allow the applicant up to May 31st for an extension.
Second,
Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Okay, and we'll give them a time?
On May 4th?
Yeah.
30.
Yeah. And we'll do it on May 4th. And this wouldn't be the first time, had that on another one. I think it was Toll Brothers. We did 2, we ran them concurrent, and then they just backed off of 1, so we'll do it. Okay, we'll continue this hearing May 4th at 7:30. Or 7:30, okay?
Thank you, thank you all.
Thanks.
Do you want to take a vote now that if they withdraw and refile, that you're willing to waive the filing fee so that?
No, but you can't do that now, it's not on the table.
right.
You'd have to do it at the hearing.
So you want us to collect a check and hold
You
on
hold
to a
it, yeah,
check?
we've done that before, yeah. I have to go, unless we call her
Okay.
Courtney, and she says, well, no, you can do whatever you want.
Okay,
But yeah, we'll do it,
so we'll hold the check?
yeah, which has been done in the past.
Okay.
Is that Mr. Markey?
I know.
Okay. With the hour being after 7:35, we have continued hearing for Cochran, and representing the Cochrans is Mr. Markey. He's a fish
I
from,
can't quite make that work in my mouth, so Phil Mackey, Mackey and Mackey, 1256 Washington Street, Norwood, Massachusetts, as counsel for and on behalf of the applicant.
we need,
As the two site plans are intimately connected and the board currently doesn't have parking counts or which lots are in and out, I would respectfully ask to continue this hearing apparently until May 4th. And I would grant an extension of time through the 31st.
of,
May.
just getting on the record there, Mr. Markey.
Absolutely.
Okay, I make a motion to allow Mr. Markey to have an extension for Cochran up through May 31st, 2017.
Second for discussion. Do you want to talk about other open items in the interim?
If you,
I have no problem doing that. I'd ask the board for its sense. There is a potential if parking numbers or whatnot change to the point where a building has to be redesigned, we could potentially be talking about a building that's not getting built. I don't think that's the case, and we certainly are amenable to coming in whenever the board would like to discuss at whatever length.
Like architecture?
I don't have a problem with that, that's the board's call,
remember,
but to keep
architecture
things,
is not a requirement, it's encouraged.
We can talk about it.
you can talk about it, but the bylaw is the bylaw. So it's really the board's pleasure. We have no problem waiting until the 4th and
But until-
showing everything. If you want us to come
So
in
we got a
early.
lot count, something may end up being a whole lot different.
Correct. That's why I
So you can talk-
suggested
You can
we
talk
come
about,
in.
we could build it if we think it's going like this, but we're not quite sure.
That's correct. And until they file or submit plans to the zoning board or whatever, I don't know, and I can't stand here and say, we've got what we have on paper is what's going to be there.
I withdraw that item.
Okay. All right, so,
And my second still.
okay, wait a second. All in favor of the extension, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. We will continue this public hearing May 4th.
Yep.
Before or after?
After, I think.
May 4th, you'll be kicking yourself, maybe. But that's the way it probably should be.
It's however the board actually wants to hear. If you
No,
want to hear about
it's-
the Corcoran piece first, we're
Yeah.
happy to go first. If you want to get this out of the way.
No,
to-
because we need to do the lot count
Yeah,
for
we
you.
need that lot count.
Yeah. That's all we need, and then you guys can do what you need to do, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Okay.
It's 7:35.
So-
Yeah, after.
You want to do 7:31?
Let's do 7:31.
Okay. And
7:31.
I like
since,
that.
well, I'll throw this out for discussion of the board, because I have some people that gotta get the bed eat by early, but if we have 2 hearings, no longer than, what, an hour each?
Yeah, I think it's reasonable to not,
Yeah, I've done that in the past, where we'll tell them,
To
at 40, at the 45-minute mark, the people
that
can
it's
talk.
getting cut off and
Well, then people
continue.
can talk, yeah.
Yeah.
And if we have 3, we'll cut it back to 45, or just cut it so that we're not here beyond 10.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, no, it's not being here beyond, but I mean, at
just
some point,
drags.
you go past a reasonable
Amount of time
Yeah.
on a
amount of
project.
time,
Yep.
and I don't think that people have an attention span that lasts that long when you've been sitting here since 7 PM. You're not getting people when they're sharpest, except for you, of course.
Yeah, okay. I know the thumbs don't work well. on the- All right, you all set?
I am all set. Thank you very much.
Okay, Phil?
Phil, are you going to drown the shamrock tomorrow?
Certainly going to try.
Thank you.
All right, Kate, I'll files on Monday.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Phil. Okay.
I can't believe those
People are here for something, I know.
people on Stone Street.
It's not on our agenda.
Okay. Yeah, it isn't. Are you people here for Stone Street? Yes. Well, first off, it's not on our agenda, and second off, hasn't been filed in front of us, so there's nothing we can discuss with you. All right? It's in front of the zoning board. So those, you can, have you talked to anybody in town hall yet? Yeah, anybody involved in the zoning, oh, you've talked to Liz?
I was there one of the days that he was in
Okay.
talking to
'Cause-
Keith.
We've been down to town hall.
They've been
But
multiple times.
Liz sits here, but she's also the head of the zoning board.
I wouldn't go that far.
Pretty close. So if you have technical questions, what you want, you can talk to her in the meantime. But because it's not on agenda, we can't take it up. And if you have something on something that's potentially be filed, until we have it filed, we wouldn't do it until the public hearing.
Okay.
All right? Not that we're pushing off, but we just gotta go by. Excuse me?
I'm confused because there were comments submitted by other departments, but not the planning board. Is that intentional?
I don't know.
Do you typically just not review?
No, what we will do, if it comes before us, we'll say no planning comments because it's in front of us. All right, if it is in front of us, we'll have our comments. There's no reason for us to do comments to them, be if it comes in front of us, because our comments and concerns will be taken up at this meeting, when we have a hearing for that. Does that make sense? If I tell them they don't have enough parking, we control the parking, so there's no sense of telling the zoning board. It would be done at the public hearing with the planning board.
Okay, so in our understanding from the meeting yesterday was they didn't have to necessarily come to the planning board because they wanted to do site planning? Is that?
They still under that one?
Well, no, so we fixed that loophole.
Oh, yeah, we did fix it, yep, that's
But we
right.
would have to see, it's Dave Norton's interpretation, if he feels that it warrants site plan review and that it meets those criteria, then they'll file with us.
Like McSherry did, right?
You know where that is?
Correct.
Okay.
That's absolutely correct.
All right.
And if not, then they don't.
All right, so it's up to the building inspector to make
It's
that
up to the
determination?
building
I
commissioner.
didn't know that.
Yeah, so unfortunately then concerns we brought up last night, we'll see what happens with the filing.
What are we even talking about?
Unfortunately then with parking and a few other items, we're afraid
Yeah, it's
that-
our understanding that the common driveway requires a special permit.
What are we talking about?
Reviewed by the planning
Stone
board.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what on
Yeah.
Stone?
There is some overlap, if they want to do that.
Condos, detached homes, that is
If when it
before
comes
ZBA.
time to build and they choose to put in that type of driveway, then they would have to get the appropriate special permit from this board.
Sounds confusing, and it is, but you go from here to here. The best thing I can tell anybody is stay out of town hall, try to do things so you don't have to
Actually, I
do
would be
this.
careful with the
Seriously.
common driveway interpretation.
Unfortunately, we're not.
The common driveway issue, Ilana brought that up with another case, and the zoning board, I think it was, wasn't it McSherry, when you asked about the common driveway?
Yes.
And town council said that it could all be wrapped
To
into
ZBA.
one with the zoning
Yeah,
board.
because our town council just doesn't like me.
I'm not touching
Yeah, I
that.
think the biggest concern was a special permit, and if they didn't like it, they appeal, and then they become, they weren't sure of
Okay.
the process.
The other thing we noticed is that there's language being proposed specifically for the section that they are applying for the special permit for.
That won't apply to them. They've already filed.
4A, where
Yeah,
the
our zoning
application
change.
says dwelling shall adhere to the dimensional chart.
If they want to call the
That-
office, I don't want to get too far into this and have an open meeting law violation.
No,
It's
if,
not
yeah, you
our-
talk to the office, the other thing is find out from the building inspector.
Yeah, he's out. He'll be back the 27th.
Okay.
Okay, so that would
Yeah, you have
be
to
a-
start there. He's the one who determines whether it comes to us or not.
I'm sorry.
The building inspector? He can help you with any, he does all interpretations and stuff. His word's the final, unless you want to go to court, so start with him and all your concerns. That's probably the best.
I
But,
just see a crossover between the two boards, and if both boards aren't communicating, then we're just trying to bring up the issues that we see.
No,
They
it-
don't fall through the cracks.
procedures in the town is, if it's with us, we don't comment to the other boards if they ask us, and vice versa. They'll say it's in front of them, and they feel that they'll take up what they need to take up, and we'll take up what we have to take up. You're not out in, your concerns will always get heard. Just a matter of which board and when. But start with the building inspector, he'll be able to explain what they're doing and what he feels their next processes are and steps to do. Okay?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.